this? Right, whose is this?
It goes to Stephen.
Stephen? All the way down to,
Welcome to the January 14th, 2025 meeting of the Gun Barrel City Economic Development Corporation. I call the meeting to order. Let's establish a quorum from my left.
Alexander here.
Rankin here.
Key here.
Damiano here.
Matthews here.
Bond present.
We have a quorum. Next item is item number 3. Do we have any citizens' comments, Stephen?
We do not.
Okay. It's not on the agenda, but I refuse to go forward without the Pledge of Allegiance. I overlooked it, sorry. We're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a prayer. Father, we come to you and thank you so much for allowing us to be together as your children in this place to watch over what you have given us as our charge. Lord, give us the presence, give us the courage, and give us the wisdom to move forward as we need to for the good and the betterment of this city. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The Gun Barrel City Economic Development Corporation Board of Directors will recess its open meeting and adjourn into executive session pursuant to Texas Local Government Code, Section 551, Subchapter D, Texas Government Code, to discuss the following. Pursuant to Section 551.087 of the Texas Government Code, deliberations regarding economic development negotiations to receive an update from the Retail Coach organization on current recruitment efforts for Gun Barrel City.
The time.
The time is 6:02. Adjourn. 7 p.m., moving back to open session. To the next item on the list, in accordance with Texas Government Code, Section 551, the Economic Development Corporation Board we are reconvening into regular session, and will consider any action, if any, on our executive session. As we have no action to present or a motion to be made based on same, I move that we move forward. Any objection? Hearing none, we'll move forward. New business. Consider and take action to approve the December 10th, 2024 EDC Board meeting minutes. Have a motion?
I move that we accept the December 10th, 2024 EDC Board meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Bond and a second from Ms. Rankin. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, vote for my left.
Alexander, yes.
Rankin, yes.
Key, yes.
Damiano, yes.
Matthews, yes.
Bond, yes.
Motion carries, and the December 10th, 2024 EDC Board meeting minutes shall be made a permanent part of our record. Item number 7, consider and take action to approve the November 2024 EDC finals. This will be presented by our director, Dr. Smith, and our treasurer, Linda Rankin.
I believe our treasurer is going to ask for this to be tabled until the next meeting. She had a couple of questions about the financials and how they are reflected. Our CPA had a death in her immediate family, and they also had an office fire, caused an electrical office fire, and that kind of all happened within a 30-day period. And so I believe Linda has some additional, I know that Linda has some additional questions for her that we have not been able to get the answer to. So prior to presenting this to the board for approval, it will come back to you in February with both the November and the December financials, but I would like that we get Linda those answers prior to the board approving it.
Thank
Any
you.
further questions for Ms. Dr. Smith? If none, turn it over to our treasurer, Linda Rankin.
I am going to make a motion that we table the November financials until next month.
I'll second.
We have a motion on Ms. Rankin to table and seconded by Mr. Damiano. Hearing no further discussion, we'll take a vote from my left.
Alexander, yes.
Rankin, yes.
Key, yes.
Damiano, yes.
Matthews, yes.
Bond, yes.
Motion to table carries. We have therefore tabled the 2024 November EDC financials. I want to take a moment to thank our city council member, Jay Burson, for being with us today. He's the only one of our city council members or other members we have is with us, so I just want to say thank you for being with us. Item number 8, consider and take action to appoint an incentive review subcommittee. I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Smith for presentation.
You never know when you grab a bottle of water from behind the city secretary's desk who's drank out of it, so we'll see how this all pans out. One of the items that we are going to consider tonight is forming an incentive review committee. So in getting the small business incentive policy and the large business incentive policy now through city council and approved, they are live on our website along with the application. This board does, here we go, we're going to do this the whole time. This board does need to appoint an incentive review committee task force. And the purpose of this task force is to streamline the process of evaluating projects. So they will fill out an application online. Once we start getting applications on an ongoing basis, we could have scheduled meetings. For now, I think we kind of do the task force committee as needed. Doesn't matter to me which you call it, committee or task force. One policy calls it task force, one calls it committee. There you go. You can do with that what you want. So we will call meetings as we get applications. This group will be responsible for really taking that application and doing the first dive into that application. Looking at financials, looking at using our resources. There's a lot of courses out there that this group can enroll in and take to help with that if that's not their expertise. Team will evaluate each project application and the supporting documents and then formulate a recommendation to the board. And then that recommendation then goes to City Council on any project requesting funding. The director recommendation, I have talked to the president and vice president, Mr. Key and Mr. Bond. My recommendation is that either your president or your vice president serves on this committee, your treasurer serves on this committee. I did not discuss this with Linda, so she may run and tackle me with all the stuff she's managed to commit herself to in the recent days. And then Ms. Matthews, Lisa Matthews, actually has experience in this type of thing. Lisa can tell you about her experience, but she has experience in this type of thing. And that's something that was considered by City Council when they appointed Lisa to the EDC board, because she did have a background in doing this and helping us from that perspective understand what those financials are and all of that. So that's my recommendation. I will kick it to the board. I'm happy to answer any questions, but if we can go ahead and, now that both applications are live, both policies are live and the application is online, as we start getting them, and Stephen and I talk to people on the daily and say, hey, need to get that application filled out, here's the policy, answering questions. And I think we probably have a few that are very close to filling out an incentive request, and we want to be ready to go when we get that, so.
Well, I'll put forth a motion based on your recommendation that we appoint Ms. Matthews, Ms. Rankin, for their backgrounds and my legal background, appoint me for that subcommittee at this point in time, which is subject to change in the future.
I'll second.
Have a second? Any questions, any discussion?
Anybody I recommended not want to do it? Since y'all kind of got rooked into this.
Hearing none, we'll take a vote. To my left.
Alexander, yes.
Rankin, yes.
Key, yes.
Damiano, yes.
Matthews, yes.
Bond, yes.
Motion passes. The new committee is established to review loans, and that being Mrs. Rankin, Ms. Matthews, and Mr. Key. Move to item number 9. Consider and take action on loan default of Slappin' Good Barbecue.
Tonight, I am not going to ask the board to take action. I'm going to provide you an update. Stephen, if you can go to the next slide, on 2 of our outstanding loans, Slappin' Good and GBC Medical. This will need to come back to you at the March meeting and then to council at their March meeting to really determine what next steps are. The full amount in default for Slappin' Good is $21,773.35. The initial default letter to Slappin' Good, because they're still in business and their loan is not called due, is not, I mean, it's still through, several more years. So the initial default letters were sent, what would bring them up to date, right? As a business in business and having not should have paid off their whole loan. The initial default letter that was sent was for the amount in default. That's what our EDC attorney sent it for, not a full default letter. We have now, I believe, as of Monday or Tuesday, sent a second letter declaring them in full default of their loan for the $21,773.35. That is all the past due amounts they owe us plus the interest they owe us for those past due amounts. Plus bring the loan current, but with not any future interest going forward. Those were sent out. We sent out the corrected letters, default letters. They have 30 days to cure, so that would give them until February the 16th to respond. After February the 16th, the attorney will immediately trigger a letter to terminate the agreement. At that point, at the March 11th meeting, because we will miss the February meeting, the EDC will then make a decision whether to take legal action, to attempt to turn this over to some type of debt collector, or to forgive the debt and then work with our accountant to file a 1099-C for 2025, which basically indicates that we canceled the debt and they are taking on that responsibility. If we choose to file a lawsuit, we cannot file a 1099-C until we cancel the debt. So you can't cancel the debt and then still try to collect on it. So there are some decisions to be made. I'm asking you not to make a decision tonight because I want you each to do your own research about what that path forward looks like. If we file lawsuits, we will have to pay for an attorney to do that. Jeff said that range can cost anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000, depending on how long it's tied up in court and, you know, what the chances are that they can collect on it and all that good stuff. So that's kind of where we are now tonight. I'm just giving you an update. Letters have been sent. We've taken care of that. Now we start that 30-day right to cure. We sent them both certified mail and regular mail. Traditionally, now that we are using the Kemp address, certified mail gets returned to us, but regular mail does not, which is an indication that they are receiving those regular mail letters. What they're doing with them, I can't answer that question. But as you all know, we have spent a lot of time chasing, getting Slap and Good to bring their payments current, and that has not happened. We have done everything we can do. We've had several board members visit. So between now and the March meeting, I would ask you to think about how you would like, what your recommendation is on how to proceed. I'm happy to answer any questions between now and then. I'm happy to gather information, anything we want. It's possible we could turn this over to a debt collector. I have the EDC attorney doing some research for me on that. They tend to pay pennies on the dollar, then they go collect the debt. But he's doing some research to make sure that that is a viable option for us and then we would come at that March meeting with a plan and who and the whole 9 yards. So exactly what that dollar figure looked like. But that is the update.
Angie, other than the fact that the registered address is Kemp, is there anything stopping us from sending a letter to their business address here in Gunbarrel City?
We did, it got returned.
Did it really? Registered?
Yeah. Registered just got returned. Even the regular mail got returned to Stephen, and that was 4 months ago. That was back in the fall. And we actually called them and said, we have a letter for you. Please come get it. I sent a letter to that address, and she came and got it. And I'll see you in the next couple of weeks. But that's the last we've seen or heard from Shaman. So
Yeah, without going into a law school class, sending it to the private address makes it deemed received.
I don't know if it is their Kemp address, but we opted to send it to a second address considering all mail was being returned to us. So
Last known address is all required. The question I have, what I want to ask is, so basically the way I understand it, you're telling us our choices are either sue them, viable choices, either sue them or forgive the debt and file with the IRS that they've gotten $21,000 worth of income.
or turn it over to a collection agency.
I have a problem understanding where you came up with the $21,773, simply because our total that was loaned was much higher than that.
They have made payments. I'm happy to send that out. I don't have that right in front of me, but we made sure before we turned those dollar figures over, what they borrowed, what they would have owed in interest to date, and subtract the payment.
That number then is just through today. But if we were to file suit, it would be on the full loan amounts.
That is the full loan amount plus any interest that was due to us over the time period from the time the loan started until now,
Right,
minus any payments they have made.
which is a different number, so.
Yeah. So this may be a little bit different than what you see on the financials, but we had to figure that up for the attorney. So
Any other questions? Any other statements? Move on to Gun Barrel City Medical. Same situation?
same situation. The full amount in default from this business is $50,213. That's the loan that we gave them plus the interest, minus what they have paid. Important note about this business is they did make a lot of double payments when they were making payments, right? Believe the business closed in 2020. We have had every single default letter we have ever sent them returned to us, both regular mail, certified mail. Stephen and I have an address in Waxahachie, where the Moody's live, and we are sending default letters to that address now. So we have sent a new letter to that address that they have 30 days to bring this full amount. And this is important that we address the full amount, because if they drop off a $1,000 payment, that doesn't bring them current, right? If they had just brought in a portion of it, it does not bring them current. They have 30 days to bring the loan current, which is that amount, and in order to do that. So same process for this one. We'll bring it back to you at the March 11th meeting. We'll take it to council on the 25th. Again, the same too. I don't see turning it over to collection agency as a viable option, but that option is there, right? They're going to pay us pennies on the dollar, and we don't get the benefit of doing the 1099-C because we aren't forgiving the debt. We're collecting on it just in a different way. That's where we are. So hopefully, I will tell you that the Moody's as a whole have been responsive to us in the past. They have tried to keep paying, and it is what it is. But we have, as of the letter that went out this week, called the loan due in full. So
this is a trust that we're dealing with now, correct? The principals are deceased?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so. Maybe one, but the other one is, we've had, they do respond. One of the Moody's does respond to us. There is maybe a husband and a son, or I don't know all the details, but we have a contact.
Okay.
To contact regarding this loan. So there has been some question about whether or not they used property as a collateral against this loan. They potentially did. We can't tell if a lien was ever filed with Henderson County. Could be interpreted that way according to the EDC attorney. I sent it to him. It's not clearly called out like some of the others are.
Explain that for a second. You said we can't tell if there was a lien filed, and then you
Right.
said it could be interpreted that way, meaning we have the
let
right
me-
to file one?
Let me finish.
Okay.
So it would have been filed at the time of the performance agreement signing. Regardless, they sold this building in 2020, and they were in good standing when they sold the building. So had Henderson County called and said, you have a lien against this, are they in good standing? We would have said yes, hypothetically. What we should have done is followed the same process we followed with Westerfeld. Is the day I got an inquiry on someone buying that building, I called Westerfeld and said, appreciate you, but you owe me money. So send me some money. And he was here the next day to do that. He was a great partner in that way. That wasn't done. They didn't call the loan due when the building sold. Regardless, had Henderson County called and said we had a lien against this, they were current in their loan, we would have said, hey, they're current in the loan. So we would have given up. But Stephen and I have been unable to find any paperwork where a lien was filed. Jeff does not aware of any lien being filed. So there's that. Do with that what you want. I wasn't here. I don't even know who the director was at that point. So the right way to do it is very similar to what we did with Mr. Westerfeld. And we are in an unfortunate position because we don't always know when the property sells. In a city where you have utilities, I know every time that business changes hands, right? I very quickly know that a business has changed hands because the utilities change names. We don't necessarily have that. So even on a city side, sometimes it's hard for us to know if a business has closed and another one opened unless they come get a certificate of occupancy. But that property did change hands back in 2020. And if there was ever a lien filed by your executive director, it potentially could have been released because he continued to make double payments for many months after that.
Well, Dr. Smith, in summary, even though the performance agreement specifically said we had the right to file a lien, we can find no evidence that we ever did it, is what you're telling us.
I cannot, no, sir.
Okay.
Stephen and I have dug through a lot of paperwork in the last several months.
If there was a lien filed when it went to sell, the title company would have seen it. So that to me says that they never filed a lien.
Well, and I kind of assumed, and Lisa, you know way more about this than I do, but that they would have called us and said, is the loan current? do you have any reason to collect on this lien? And I would assume at that point, there was some kind of agreement between the Moody's and the executive director. They were continuing to pay. They made 9 or 10 more double payments after that.
And that's probably why they didn't file the lien.
So, I mean, they paid double payments every time, so, for the majority of the loan, but that's where we're at. So we will, that's the update. That's the best update I have. I will send the same update to City Council tomorrow, just kind of here's where we are with this. I wanted to present it to you all first, and then we will update them on next steps. Between now and then, I need you all to think about what do you want that next step to be. Knowing a lawsuit costs $10,000 or $20,000, how do you want to proceed? And that's where we'll go from there.
The reason why I asked that question about a trust versus an individual, it's going to, if it's a trust, it's going to really inform how we're going to go toward this, what we need to do. Because one section will be just completely moot if.
I do not believe it is a trust. I believe the letters are still going to one of the individuals that was on the loan.
And all I can tell you is I'm trying to address a rumor, I guess.
Yeah.
The rumor was that it went to a trust and they died. So what
I
is?
do not
what is-
believe that is correct.
Okay. So I would suggest then we need to, at some point, we can't do it here tonight, but let's discuss putting together a working group to talk about this very issue prior to the time we have the meeting.
I would think that what you would want, Roy, was advice from your attorney specifically, and then for the board to make a decision about what next steps are. It's up to you. We can add a working group at the next meeting to appoint another subcommittee to do that. But I would ask you to consider that you might be best served for me to invite the attorney to the meeting, get advice directly from him on the cost and the process, and then the board as a whole make that recommendation. But again, up to y'all.
When I mentioned working group, that's what I thought we would do. We'd have him there working with the board. So if we can do that in an open meeting, let's do that.
Yeah, I would highly recommend you do that in a meeting in this type of setting if you want my advice. If you don't, that's fine too. You can do whatever you want to do.
What's your suggestion that we do, table both of these?
Yeah, you don't have to take action on them. We just discussed them. We can take action, but we don't need to take action because we are in a bit of a holding pattern until these letters come back.
And I'll make an official declaration that items number 9 and number 10 are moved and tabled, and we are not going to address them. Item number 11, consider and take action on a request from the LSMRA for a $1,000 sponsorship for the 2025 lawnmower racing season. Turn this over to Dr. Smith.
Look, I found lots of pretty pictures. I sent you all the letter. I apologize for the lateness. Sammy had reached out to me back in the fall. Hey, I want to do this. What do you think? She reminded me right before we published the agenda that she and I had that discussion and when did I think it would be on an agenda. And so on Thursday, I was able to add it to the agenda. And then on Monday, Sammy sent me the official request letter, which I sent to all of you. When I have that ahead of time, I'm happy to publish that in the packet. LSMRA has requested a $1,000 donation to help specifically with operations. They have some hard costs. Those of you that don't know, these are lawnmower races. They are the coolest thing you've ever seen in your life. You definitely should go drive a lawnmower, is my advice. This is their race schedule in Gun Barrel, and I was going to add all roads lead to Gun Barrel for lawnmower racing, but I forgot. So that is our race schedule for the upcoming year. They will do the very beginning of March. They'll do a test and tune where they kind of have a play day out there, and everybody gets to get their mowers out and run them. They are very engaged with us. I think somewhere there's some signs. Maybe Sammy dropped off some signs, which she can show you. But I'm going to invite them up to the podium, whoever wants to talk. But I think what this will really help with is some of their operations. The city's also working with them on some ways to further advertise Gun Barrel and lawnmower racing. And as you all know, we do have hotel motel taxes that, we could put towards some type of request like that to help promotion, to work with those partners to promote. This really is a request for operation funding. They provide a restroom at the park for these events. I'll tell you, at the last event, which was October, there were probably 250 people there watching lawnmower racing. And that has grown significantly in my 1 year here. And so they have done a great job with their board and with their they have a new marketing person who lives here. And she actually puts the signs all up and works with Mike to get them up. But I will kick it off. Sammy, whoever wants to come up and speak, I'll kick it off to y'all. And if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
I don't recognize y'all out of your race suits.
I want to ask you to please introduce yourself before speaking.
Sure. First, I want to thank Angie for putting this on the agenda for us. I'm Sammy Neal. I'm the former secretary of the LSMRA, and I have taken a step back, but yet here I am. And this is
Jesse Vick, the track steward, so I'm in charge of making sure the track is safe, make sure the environment is good for the racers, make sure there's no danger, although they're pretty fast, so they can be pretty dangerous. So we make sure everybody wears the right equipment, the spectators are safe, and make sure everything's done in a timely manner, and to make sure the conditions of the track is perfect, so we don't have anybody flipping or doing anything crazy. So that's my job, and answer questions from the racers and make sure all the rules are enforced that we have in our rule book.
the complaint department.
And complaint department, and of course, to be strict, but everybody knows that the reason why is because it's for safety reasons and to be fair for everybody. So I race myself, my son races, my son got me into it. And it's just a blessing for me with this association, this Marion and Sammy just kind of putting us under their wing and bringing us into this and make it greater. And actually when we got into it, started racing just in 2 years, solid, probably 2 years, it's grown. The crowd is insane. I mean, there is a lot of people to where the bleachers are full and people are backing trucks up. It's pretty neat to see that, and for your family members, and we've got a lot of husband, wives, father, daughters, father, sons that come in. It's really cool for people to watch them do things that they are passionate about.
Yeah, I don't know who came up with the idea of adding the power wheels during the intermission while y'all are taking a break, but that is phenomenal.
The president.
To see those,
Yeah.
to see those kids out there, you'd think they were doing 100 miles an hour.
Oh, yeah.
They're focused.
Well, we like to think of ourselves as a family-oriented organization. We try to keep it as clean and family-friendly as possible. Our goal is to invite the people who want to bring their families and have a day of fun that they maybe couldn't go do at, I don't know, somewhere where you can't take children, like a golf tournament or something like that. This is family fun. And we have gained this year, just since October, we have gained 6 additional mower racers.
Wow.
And we have people that are constantly calling and asking, how do I get into this sport? When we first came to Gun Barrel City, in I think 2014, we had no idea that it would grow to what it has become. And we appreciate so much what y'all have given us so that we can give back to you.
When I heard that Gun Barrel was where we were racing, because I live in Burleson, so a little south of Fort Worth, so I was like, well, that's not too bad. And my, like I say, my son was passionate about it. I'm like, oh, it's a phase. He's going to go through it. It's going to be something else in 6 months, because I've seen it. It's a pattern. But man, when he got into this, it was like, it doesn't sound, if you just mention it and talk about it, it's not a big deal. It's like, okay, whatever. But when you're actually there at the races and you hear it, and then the crowd, of course, the mayor is getting involved. And then he knows everybody in the crowd. And then, we've got a lot of people coming from out of town into Gun Barrel now. And once you're there, it's a totally different story. They're hearing what people have done to them and how simple they can be. They can be pretty simple where people can get it pretty cheap. And I think that's that's kind of the stepping stone that people always in the crowd can say, I can do that. And they can. It's,
How did your T-shirt sales go?
They went well. They went well.
Okay. That was something new that y'all added this year, and I think I wear mine proudly.
Oh, thank you. Well, we're trying to find ways that we can raise money for the organization. We have expenses. One of our biggest expenses coming up is our transponder system. And so it makes our races much more professional to have this transponder system because everyone has a transponder on their mower, and as they pass that finish line, their laps are counted. I cannot tell you how many times in the past we've had discrepancies about the amount of laps or the timing issues. So this transponder system is allowing us to make it where it is a more efficiently run race season.
yeah.
And it, it helps determine our Texas state championships. But, and it looks better for the people out there that are watching it, and they see what we're doing, and it's not just a lot of people think it's a backwoods, hillbilly type organization, but we do perform with some professionalism. I mean, it is an organization. It's not just some backyard fun.
And I can say that when I read your January 13th letter to Dr. Smith, I became very excited. I knew that it was a big thing, but I didn't think it was this big of a thing. And we really appreciate what you're doing for this city
Well, thank you.
and putting us on the map. We're glad to work with you any way we can.
Well, we appreciate that.
Oh, yeah.
And the what?
The,
Trailer set, we do, I know y'all probably read in this letter, we have had a network that has contacted us. And Jesse's been a part of those interviews. He and his son have been part of the interviews. They want to bring in, and they will not disclose the network or the comedian. They don't give us any details. They just say, we want to have an episode where this comedian is looking for a hobby. And they said among the 37 people that or organizations that they interviewed, lawnmower racing was in the top 3. And so they said if the production goes forth, we will be in their series. So we had asked Angie if it would be possible, if y'all had any problem with us having it filmed here at Gun Barrel City, and she said absolutely not. So we're thrilled about that.
Please jump on that.
It is your favorite
Yeah.
track, isn't it?
Throw us into that briar patch, please.
Exactly. That's what, that is what we want to bring. I mean, last year, the Texas Power Co-op magazine, I don't know if y'all got to read that article. They did a fantastic job with that, and it brought a lot of people. We have people on YouTube saying, wow, where is Gun Barrel City? We've never heard of Gun Barrel City. Y'all are kind of a little secret, out there in Texas. But we also have had, I don't know if you've heard of Liberty Trailers. They are building a plant in something Springs.
Sulphur Springs.
Sulphur Springs. And we contacted them, and they said that they would like to do a commercial with our mowers on their trailers. So, because they thought that would be unique. You see all kinds of equipment on trailers, but not lawnmowers. And they want to show the pursuit of the American dream, that you can use these trailers for something besides work. It can also be something that is recreational. So, again, Gun Barrel City is our, we call y'all our home track. We feel home when we're here. You've welcomed us. Jalapeno tree, hectares. We love it all.
I can tell you this, my wife says, I want to go drive one of those things.
Well, come on.
yeah, we're ready.
Come on, we'll put you on them.
We've actually set some little kids, we'll get the wheels off the ground and put them in the seats on the fast ones, the loud ones, and God, their eyes blow up, because, I mean, because they got triggers on the handlebars, so they ride their bikes, they hit
Yeah.
their brakes and things, and boy, hit that trigger, they're like, no, no, no. And boy, when they do and they rev it up, it is like Christmas Day. I'm telling you, it is so funny to see their eyes blow up.
Well, we also have, it's the Maybank High School. I don't know if that's what the official name is, but,
The one behind the track there?
Yes.
Is that a high school?
Well, that's a
Middle
middle
school?
school, isn't it?
That's
It's a middle school.
yeah, that's an elementary school behind it.
okay, well, these are 13 to 14-year-olds in their shop class, I believe.
Yeah.
They asked us if they could, if they built a mower, if their class, you know, each of their people in their class built a mower, could they come and race with us? And of course, we said, definitely. So we are anticipating that this year, and maybe in March, we haven't heard from them, that we will have them as a part of our racing group as well.
That may very well be their auto shop
Yeah.
Exactly.
group.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
the young man that came up and just was asking a bunch of questions, because we have a class just for that age group. So most of our age group, we can't just have everybody racing as fast as you can go. So most of our classes are limited. You've got gear ratios that you have to go by to keep it safe for them until they go through the steps of going up the chain of the slower, getting faster, faster, faster. So that was the JP class was what we would recommend them doing. And it's a cheaper build, and it's something to get them kids in the shop and be interested in, because, I mean, I was there. You go in the shop and you just start grabbing stuff and doing, but you have a mission that everybody's gonna get to race, man, they're at least be interested in school, that class anyway,
Right.
So,
Okay.
Y'all
Sounds
have any-
fantastic. Any other questions or any other input? Thank you for coming and sharing with us, and we thank you for helping us out.
Thank you. Y'all
thank
are
you.
all
Thank
invited,
you.
free admission.
Doing a very good job. Thank you very much. Let's move on to item,
Wait, we need.
I'd like to make a motion.
I haven't gotten it out of my mouth yet, guys. Hang on. Let's move on to the item of getting a motion for the $1,000 sponsorship. I'm going
I'd
to
like-
go ahead and make a motion
I'm
that
gonna-
we have $1,000 scholarship to the LMSRA.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second.
They're fighting over one.
Any questions or any comments? To my left.
Yes. Alexander, yes.
Rankin, yes.
Key, yes.
Damiano, yes.
Matthews, yes.
Bond, yes.
Motion carries. We're giving you $1,000. There she is, right there. And I can't leave Keith's wife out of it either, because I think she probably would like to do it as well. Item number 12, Business Retention and Expansion Small, Subcommittee Update. We'll turn that over to that subcommittee. You've written a nice summary on that.
Yes. Well, we, as our small business committee, we met one day and we just kind of decided what we were going to do, where we were going to start at. And so I made a few calls on the January 3rd to kind of line up some appointments with 2 or 3 different places, and just to make an appointment for us to be able to go visit. And we were able to visit with the Eagle Auto Parts, and we were referred to their tri-state manufacturing in Fort Smith, Arkansas would be where we would need to, where their home office is. They would be the ones that we would need to talk to let them know if, they needed any kind of help to maybe get a new parking lot, because, man, it's horrible. But anyway, we talked to the lady, the manager at the Building Blocks Child Care. I called the Gun Barrel Pharmacy because it was on the list, and come to find out, Gun Barrel Pharmacy is closed. And the gentleman that answered they answered the phone, they said Kemp Pharmacy. So the pharmacist, Robert Emfinger, called me back, and we were talking about it, and he was talking about how it's the legislature for the insurance that's giving them a hard time. He said he's been in business here for 30 years, and he finally just couldn't do it anymore. He's interested to talk, he said he's willing and interested to come to speak with the EDC, the city council, about getting with the legislature, our representatives in Austin, about helping small businesses. And he said to keep an eye out for his name on ballots sometime in the future. We also, Keith and I went across the street to TNT Liquidators and spoke to the manager. Everybody's very interested and happy to see people out there, you know, shaking hands, and they were interested in brochures. I spoke with Stephen today. We have a kind of an outdated brochure. He's going to work on sprucing it up a little bit, and just to, you know, bring us into this century. But that's it, and that's what we're doing, is just making sure that some of the businesses know that there is resources available.
Thank you for updating us on that.
Whenever you talk to them, do you ask them how many employees there are now?
We haven't at this yet, but you know, we started at 334 and 198, and we're going toward Maybank. That was a little strip we started with, and most of those are pretty small, you know, places.
But our intent is to go there and to see how we can help them meet
Right.
what they need to do. Tell them, you know, what do they need, what's available out there.
Yeah,
to do that.
and what we need to find out, because it was mentioned that if they needed employee training and stuff, that we could refer them to TVCC. Before I start telling people what the different ways we can help them, I would like to know for sure that that's a possibility.
Any other questions for the Small Business Retention and Expansion Program? Let's move forward to the Large Business Retention and Expansion Subcommittee.
Which is myself.
That's you.
And I am very grateful for the passage of our application process being passed by the city council. And so now that that is in place, I'm excited to know that we have some applications pending, and that the review committee, Lisa, you and I can get together, and I believe now we can move forward with some good things.
That's exciting.
It is exciting.
Any other questions for the Large Business Expansion Review Subcommittee? Let's move forward on to the Events and Festival Subcommittee, and that's Mr. Damiano.
Okay, thank you. As I reported last meeting, Lisa and I had general conversations. We kind of put everything, at least I did, put everything on hold because of the holidays, to be honest with you. We are having a meeting on Sunday to work out a few things and figure out some of the options.
Any other questions or comments? Do I hear an objection to adjournment?
None.
Without objection, we are adjourned.